Tavares has it. Here come the Islanders 3-on-2. John Tavares cuts to the middle of the net. What a goal! 2-1 on.
Alright, sorry about the amateurishness of that. My digital camera cannot pause while recording stuff, so there we go. Arguably, my opinion for goal of the year, Tavares is absolutely unbelievable. I'll talk about him all day and night long. What was really impressive about that goal is that was Kipper that he beat. So that was one of the elite goalies in the league that he did that to. So it's been like that all year long. He doesn't get rewarded all the time. You'd probably see a lot more highlights, but that was the first game that started his current 11-game point streak, which he has 19 points. What's really nice for me is that this is the first time an Islanders had a point streak this long since Mark Parrish had a 12-game point streak back in the magical 01-02 season, where the Islanders first brought in Pekka, Yashin, and Osgood, and they had that great 7-game first-round loss to the Leafs. So, looking at the season here, last week we had Albion take first star by defeating Donald. Jamie took second star by defeating Brandon, and Derek defeated Rob for third star. Give an honorable mention to Rooker for winning having the same record as Derek, but lost the tiebreaker based on the goal scored. Alright, so the big story that I wanted to to talk about is Josh handing Steve his first loss of the year. Steve's 13-week unbeaten streak to start the year is beyond description. I've never seen anything like that in like a fantasy pool. In fact, I think it's like a precedent that we may never see matched. Kind of like Gretzky's 92 goals in a season. Like, it's just one of those crazy things that. Hats off to you, man. Like, some weeks, you like last week I had some good goaltending. This week I'm not. You know what I mean? Like, you never know what's going to happen week to week. So good on you for getting that. One other note, next week is, because of the All-Star game, it's like a double week. So just keep in mind that it'll be a 2-week matchup against someone. Obviously the matchup limits will be increased because of that. So keep that in mind. Next thing I wanted to discuss was goalie rotations. I'm going to say this probably multiple times during this, that it's been just such a weird year. In this case, goalies, the example I have is the other night, Washington was in Montreal and they started Neuwirth, and he shut them out. So they had a day off, and then they played again last night against Carolina, and they went with Volkun. And I have Volkun and whatever, but if a goalie gets a shutout, why wouldn't you play him the next game? Like, that seems like a no-brainer to me. I don't know, maybe it's just me. Also, we have the Winnipeg Thrashers, and I refer to that because they've started their annual mid-season swoon. It's going to be nice this summer to get a lot of to start getting rid of the leftovers from the Atlanta team. This year, I think people had a lot of higher expectations than they should have. I believe there's at least 4 forwards and 3 defensemen that need to be replaced in that team before they take the next step. Hopefully, they don't totally tank the second half, but so far they've kind of looks like they're repeating the same thing. All right, so if anyone wants to trade for anything for Antropov, I would take it. 7th round pick, $100 cash, anything. Get that guy off the team. He's making $4 million. And he's just not worth it. He's never been. On that note, speaking of Antropov, vis-a-vis a former Leaf, the blockbuster trade just recently, I think it was yesterday, Carolina traded Ponikarovsky to the Devils. Ponikarovsky and Antropov are both just massive underperformers, big bodies, talent, but they just don't apply it. That's not uncommon for Europeans, right? Okay, so other than that, we have some other notable things. The Wings are on a 15-game home unbeaten streak. That's pretty crazy. Again, I always give this franchise props because they're always good. You can't hate them. Like, they're just great, and it's not like they play a boring, terrible New Jersey Devil trap style where they're successful because of that. Like, they just a well coached team. But Babchuk is just unbelievable. The Wild have finally come back down to earth. They went all the way from number one in the West, and now they're currently on the outside of the playoffs looking in. It makes me happy to see the world somewhat restoring balance to itself, although the Sens continuing to baffle me quite a bit. Speaking of Ottawa, with the All-Star game coming up, they obviously the ballot box stuffing is pretty stupid. There's no way that 4 of those Senators should be on the team, considering there's just a long list of players who weren't. Now, what's funny is that the captains are Chara and Alfredson, and they get to do the pickup game drafting. I think it's safe to say that whoever Chara picks, that team's going to win, because I can't see Alfredson not taking his own teammates. So that's 3 other guys that he's going to take over some better guys. So I expect the Chara team to win no matter what the rosters look like. The Rangers have moved in the first, and I will say it's because of King Henrik. If it weren't for him, they wouldn't even be in a playoff spot. The guy's just unbelievable. It just irks me that, my biggest rivalry always has just phenomenal goaltending. But in a slight little good thing, Parento, who couldn't make the Rangers, obviously has become a pretty decent player with my boys. Right now, Parento has more points than any other Ranger. Like, if he was on their team, he'd be their leading scorer, and that's hilarious considering they have about $17 million combined to pay Richards and Gaborik to have less points. And Parento's only making like 1.15 or 1.25 or something ridiculous. Let's see here. Tyler Seguin has maintained his scoring lead for the Bruins and also leads the league with a plus 35. I saw someone had kind of a joke on Twitter the other day that when they made that trade with Kessel, that Burkett emailed Peter Chiarelli and just said, hey, I'll trade you a Stanley Cup for Phil Kessel. So I thought that was kind of clever. And then let's see, Taves and Stamkos are battling for the Rocket Richard Trophy. Taves is unbelievable. There's no question about it. I never expected him to ever challenge for a goal scoring title. I'm sure in the background here you can probably see my Taves jersey hanging up. He's going to be a Hall of Famer, I believe. And then the importance for a team to have 5-on-5 scoring. Another thing to add to this bizarre season is is my Islanders. Right now they're sitting 10 points out of a playoff spot. Yet only the Islanders and the Hawks have 3 40-point scorers. The Islanders are also 6th in the league on the power play, 8th on penalty killing, and they're 10 points out of a playoff spot. That they should be up near the top based on that kind of stuff, right? But if you don't score on 5-on-5 and you have 4 guys that get points consistently and that's it, it's hard to win, regardless if your goaltending's good. And then something else I wanted to point at was the Blues. Obviously, like I mentioned, that they've really turned around under Hitchcock. They just recently re-signed Brian Elliott to a 2-year extension. He was obviously run out of Colorado and Ottawa for playing poorly, and this year he's just been a ray of sunshine. He's been absolutely phenomenal. However, Halak has also been, and I don't understand why teams want to have 2, at least right now, it seems as though 2 bona fide number ones. You look at a team like Boston as Thomas and Rask, but Thomas is older, and he's going to eventually move out of the way for Rask. But with Elliott and Halak, they're both really young, and I just don't get it. If I were them, I would trade Elliott while he's being amazing, because this year is abnormal, right? So I don't know why you'd want to have 2 number 1 goalies. I especially when they're young. I think it's just going to cause problems. Let's see here. Also, obviously you've also mentioned throughout the year the mess that the Habs are in, the mess that the Jackets are in. But what's really surprising is Buffalo. They've never been a favorite team of mine or anything, but they've always been like pretty decent. They can make the playoffs. Back in '06, I thought that was going to be their best chance to win it all. And of course, they had some defensive injuries that they just couldn't sustain it once they got to the third round. But this year is out of whack. They started okay. That Pagula guy bought the team, spent some money, wanted to change the culture of that franchise to make them a powerhouse. And they started well, but things have just gone off the rails. They've currently lost 11 straight road games, which is a franchise record. And there's been lots of times where they haven't been very good over the last 30, 40 years, and so it's unbelievable. Ryan Miller just isn't himself. He was not playing well before his concussion, so you can't even blame it on that. I think maybe it's time after with like to get rid of Lindy Ruff. He's been there forever, keeps him consistent, but after a decade you haven't won the cup. Why sit there and keep some guy around for forever? The team's in turmoil. I don't know if they're gonna be able to bounce out of it. Lots of bizarreness going on there. So I didn't want to take up too much time. I hadn't done a video update during the season so far this year. So everyone have a good week. And remember, next week is a double week, double matchup because of the All-Star break. Enjoy, I guess, this the end of this week. This is a much later update than usual, but I hope you enjoyed. All right, take care, guys.